Hello, and welcome to Best for Women Live, the podcast. Joining me today is Jenny Hargreaves, and I'm really excited to have her on because we're going to be talking about how to get what you want, which means first you have to know what you want. So I'm going to bring her in now, and I'm super excited to have Jenny join us. And here she is. Excellent. Hello, Jenny. Welcome.
Hi.
We did. We did.
Hey, we did
On
it.
this
Great.
beautiful Monday. So happy to have you join us today. And I was just telling our audience we're going to be talking about such an important topic. You can't get what you want until you know what you want, which, right, I know. Super excited about this
Right?
one. Not enough people say that out loud as a real thing.
It's very true. Often we think we've kind of been conditioned that to want is a bad thing, actually, right? We should just be grateful for what we have. And we don't want to be seen as too greedy or asking for too much. So yeah, to actually be able to say what we
Yeah,
want is quite a big deal for some people. I say it
I
all the
love
time.
that.
I have
And
no
nor
problem
should
saying
you.
it, Brooke. Yeah.
Jenny, can you take a moment to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Jenny Hargreaves, and I am the founder and CEO of Tellent. Tellent is a diversity recruitment and social impact organization. Our mission really, though, is to connect women's limitless potential to the professional world. So we believe no one needs to change or to improve themselves to lead like somebody else, but actually you have everything you need inside of you to be what you want, to do what you want, and to have what you want. So it's all about just tapping back into yourself to go after and get your goals.
Okay, I love that for so many reasons. And I've been really excited about our conversation today because it's so closely aligned to the vision we have at Best for Women, which really is showcasing, the podcast is showcasing expertise of leadership on business development, on stress management for women in our network. And then within our programming, really focusing around how to have, I'll say that dichotomy of health number one, careers number one, and yet they both can't be number one at the same time. And so really helping people navigate through that. So tell me a little bit more about the community that you've created.
Yeah, so this community started, I started Tellent 7 years ago, and the community has continued to grow. And basically, I was laid off when I was 4 months pregnant after my employer had joked twice that this role wouldn't suit someone looking to have kids anytime soon. So for me, this was like a huge shocker, and I adopted a belief, an external belief that I couldn't be a mom. I couldn't be a good mom and have a career. So I adopted this belief. This was true. This is what I took on to be the truth, was somebody else's opinion that I couldn't have a career and be a good mom. But actually, I love to work. Oh my God, Brooke, like I love working. I love solving problems. I love challenges. I love being out there. And I just thought, why can't I work? Why can't I be a good mom and have a career? And the more and more I started talking to women, especially mothers coming off their second or third maternity leave, the more I realized that this was a common thread, that women were thinking before, like, I want to do this. I've got this idea. I've got these plans. And then at some point in their careers, they started to believe that maybe they couldn't do all those things anymore, through either external circumstances, through cultural beliefs, through partnerships, but just taking on other people's messaging about what was possible and available to them. And I thought, nah, this has to change, right? Nobody is coming to save me. I have to save myself. And actually, if I don't fit in that box of work where I go 9 to 5 and I work in an office and I have to commute, that's not me. That doesn't suit me. It's not what I want. But that doesn't mean I can't do other things. That doesn't mean I can't be great. That doesn't mean I can't earn money. That doesn't mean I can't grow in my career. So it was just having to figure it all out. So as I led and launched Tellent, I started bringing more and more women along for this ride of self-discovery. So really understanding what it is that they truly want, not what they think they should want, not what do other people think that they should want,
Yep.
but what is it that they truly want. And then through a very, very simple framework, helping them go after it. And it's the most magical and inspiring community that you'll ever meet. So we're professional women, between mid-career professional women, anywhere between 8 years to 25 years in the workforce and all across Canada. And these women they truly, truly embrace the values of abundance, generosity, and collaboration. They want you to win.
Oh, okay. So many things I want to unpack in that, but I'm going to start at the end and work my way back, because I think that's really valuable that they want you to win. And yeah, and I think part of this idea, I mean, winning, even then, sometimes can have many connotations, because we think of, literally, I just came from a place called Olympic Park yesterday in Montreal, surrounded by these beautiful rings, celebrating when the Olympics were here. And one of the things that comes of that is, they've got a whole bunch of places where you can stand with photos, and there's a podium, right? And so when you talk about winning, you think about first, second, third place, and if you're not first, you didn't win. And that's not what this means. It's winning in the sense of defining and achieving your own success. Am I interpreting correctly?
100%. So your version of success, guaranteed it doesn't look like mine. Guaranteed it doesn't look like somebody else's. And that's okay. And what we have to get comfortable with, which is really hard, is to actually get really comfortable owning what it is that we want and creating that version of success and that vision for success that suits us without other people's judgments getting in the way, or our own judgments getting in the way of what that looks like. Because I know you know it, like the feeling of alignment, right? When you're out of alignment and everything just in your kind of heart and your body feels off, it doesn't feel right. But when you have that alignment, it's like everything just clicks, right? Because you're doing what you want, you're working on what you want, and everything starts to flow and click and become way easier. And other people's judgments, and people will always have judgments, they don't matter so much anymore.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the judgments often are literally, you feel like you're being judged. Like when we talk about people's judgments, part of it is expectation, because everyone has a slightly different expectation. You expected to be welcomed in the workforce and to be eligible for your right to mat leave, right? Yeah. That's a very normal expectation that your employer didn't share. In your case. But I think one of the other pieces that goes along with that, and I think of some of the women that I've introduced to the Tellent program who've come out of my coaching program, and when we come to sort of that end of, okay, well, what's next? It's like, okay, here's your next mentorship opportunity. Here's where a community where I think you would really grow. And they come back regularly to tell me how much it's still impacting them, how much they're still connected in with the community, and how much they still love it. And I think it's because they're in a space where people know and understand that 9 to 5 is not for everyone. They're in a space where they know that you have a right to thrive and flourish where you are.
Yep. And you know what? 9 to 5 might be right for some people. And that's what it's about, is I think like people coming in and what they get from the community is this acceptance. So it's so funny, because when people first start the program, like the first lesson we do is like really uncovering and unpacking what it is that you want and how to set a proper goal. And so you have that alignment, and it takes, like, you have to peel back a lot of layers to get down to, what is it that you actually truly want? And often the people who join and sign up, they burst into tears because it's been so long and it's hidden so deep that they can't even say it out loud, right? But instead of, in this group and community, instead of people being like, oh my God, that is selfish, that is unrealistic, that is, not what's best for your kids. Instead of flying in judgment, we actually hold space for them to explore it and get curious, because that's what it's about, is like just curiosity. No one's like jumping right away and doing the thing. We're just getting curious, and we're playing with it, and we're expanding the idea a little bit more. And that comes through the collaboration piece, where people pitch in and they say, yes, and. Like, we are truly, truly believers of yes, and. I want to yes, and the shit out of my career, right? And my life is, let's keep yes, anding it, right? What else could you do?
Oh, yes. So I don't think you can actually see this. Let me see if I can pop up. This is my favorite t-shirt. Extraordinary Woman. And I say that because this is part of a yes and. I got this as part of a collaboration. It came with a lovely lip balm, a beautiful necklace from my favorite jeweler, Glam Jewels, and then this amazing t-shirt. And it made me so happy to wear because first off, it's my favorite color. And second of all, every time I wear it, I need to be in a day to wear it. Today is a holiday Monday where you and I live, and it is the day to wear it. And so, but there are other people who are like, how could you wear a shirt like that? How could you, how could, right? But you get the looks. And I think there's a piece there of yes, and is you can be extraordinary, you can be exceptional, and you can choose not to go over and above and beyond. You can choose to live within the parameters of what feels best and comfortable for you and be celebrated for that choice, as opposed to having that sort of side-eye look of, oh.
Yeah. And you know what? People, like I've said a couple times on this call, people will do it. They'll continue to do it forever. And the more comfortable you get with what you want, the more comfortable you get in the skin, the more it just doesn't even matter. Like it just bounces completely off. And you know what I would put on my shirt is I am a fucking extraordinary woman. Like I would not even just, I would be like, yes, I am. Right? We're just going to take this to a whole new level of I am awesome. So,
That's so great.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I love it. I love it. Jenny, can you tell me a little bit more, if you're comfortable to do so? I'd love to know a little bit more about sort of the model. So you have We Are Tellent, which is the community element of it, and really helping women, if I understand correctly, really dig into what it is that they want so that they can live the career and life of their dreams. Yeah. And there's a flip side to your business as well, because you talked about how you were also an inclusive recruiter. Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about, I'm going to call it your empire. Tell me a little bit more about how it all fits.
It's so funny because I say I'm sneakily changing the world, and I'm not really telling anyone. I'm just doing it because I've got two pieces to the business. Yeah. I have business to consumer, which is where I help women, and that is through the Propeller Experience program. So the Propeller Experience program is a coaching and collective that helps women really reach the success that they want as they defined it. It really is focused around career, so connecting their limitless possibilities with the professional world. So whatever it is that you want. When I say career, some people are like, oh, but I don't have a career. I'm a stay-at-home mom. Your career can be knitting boots, right? Your career can be having your own dog studio and grooming salon. Your career can be becoming a leader and CEO. It doesn't matter. Your career is like what you want to do for work. So that's the B2C side. And we also have a business to business side. So our business to business side is really making those professional connections, right, into the professional world. So we work with employers to help pave a pathway for employers to attract and source diverse talent, so women talent. So we've noticed over the years, and from my experience and from other women's experiences in the community, we hear a lot, like workforce trauma is what we're kind of calling it, was where they've had these incidences in the workplace where they get burnt and they're like, no, actually, I don't want that anymore. Right? And now employers are saying, well, actually, we need more women. We need more diversity. Like we need workers full stop. Right? So how do we attract women talent? So we really help them to attract and source women talent. And we do that through a couple of programs. We have straight up recruitment, but we also have this amazing recruitment event called Leveler, which is free to women, and it's a mentorship program with employers where the employers actually say, come and see what it's actually like to work here. We'll mentor you. You'll get an idea of our culture, and we're going to help you build your career, whether you end up working here or not. It's a beautiful program. I really like it.
Oh my gosh, that is a beautiful program. Yeah. So so employers actually come and they'll mentor you, help you as part of your journey of figuring out what is, I'll say the job title and the description that actually fits what it is that you want. And then they'll offer guidance and support for you, whether you become an employee or not.
Yeah. So we basically take I know, right? And then, do you want to work for that company? Oh my God, wow, they sound amazing. Yes, I want to work for them. Yeah. Even if the job and alignment isn't there, guess what, Brooke? I'm telling all my friends, you should go work at Aviva.
Yeah.
Right? Look how they support us. Look how they develop us. Look how they took the time for this. So we basically take our four-week framework from Propeller, And we put it in a condensed version and bring in Aviva mentors to help you work through those 4-part framework. And then the idea is that they can either, they've built the network, they've built the relationships, they've had the mentoring from Aviva, and now they really want to work there. Because what we saw a lot, especially after the pandemic, was a huge amount of candidate distrust, where candidates were saying, actually, like, how do I know you walk the talk, right?
Yeah.
How do I know you're not just chirping like, oh, we're so great, we do all these amazing things? Because that's what we saw was employers were, they couldn't find skilled talent. They were out there saying, come and work here, come and work here, come and work here. But what if you could change the message? Instead of saying, come and work here, you said instead, I want to help you find a job. What a completely different message.
Completely different message. It's a completely different way of thinking, and it's actually about building network. And I say this because, you know, I think of tomorrow, my spouse is going to be going for a lunch with someone who he had a dotted line reporting to, retiring. And it's, well, why would you go for dinner with someone who's retiring? They don't work at the same company anymore. Because he was a wonderful person. It brings closure to the relationship, and you still never know who you run into and who you come to know. And so even now at the new company where he is, he knows people who worked at the old company before his time.
Yeah.
So he's never met them, but their name has circulated. And so he looked them up and was like, hey, we used to work at the same place. And it's this just small connections. Like I think of even how you and I have met through a couple of different points of connection along the way, which is awesome, because I think this is actually our first like real conversation that we've had.
Isn't that funny? It seems unusual, but there will be more. There will be more. There will be more great conversations.
Absolutely, there will. But I think it's one of the things that a lot of people don't understand around the power of networking is it's the idea of, it's not what can you do for me, it's not what even necessarily what can I do for you. Sometimes it's as simple as, is there someone that I know, or tell me what it is that you want? Because now your ears are open to that in other places where they're not in the room.
So I'd love to even reframe the word, because for anyone who's watching or tuning in or listening on repeat, when you hear the word networking, like, how do you feel? I could think most people are like, oh God, gross, yuck. No, I want to get rid of that word, networking. Oh, I love networking, actually. Networking is like my favorite thing in the whole world.
Oh, I don't doubt it. Tell me about the, because I love taking on new phrases. So
right, it's actually building relationships. It's just 100%. You're building a new relationship. Like, let's take out the pressure of networking, and it doesn't have to look like I walk into, my worst nightmare is walking into a massive room and not knowing anyone for a networking event. I hate those. Right? That's not my jam. And networking doesn't have to look like that. Networking doesn't have to look like cold calling on LinkedIn. Networking can be parents at school pickup and drop off. It can be someone saying, oh my gosh, have you ever talked to Brooke before? You should connect with her, right? It can be one-on-one. It can be small groups. It can be at a course. It can be, you know, in the playground. And all it is taking an interest. It's building reciprocal relationships. It's just being like, Brooke, how are you today? What's going on? Not, Brooke, can you give me a job?
Right? Because the answer would be no, I don't know you, right? So yes. I think there's another piece to that I just want to unpack, because I think it's really important. You know, when we think of networking, there's those of us who think of, and no knock to the organizations who host this, but there's many sort of after 5 business events.
Yeah.
And there is an element, especially as a woman, there's an element when you go there that you almost feel like you need to armor yourself before, like emotional armor before you go. And I see you nodding, and it's just this gross feeling where you know you're just going to get pitched at the whole time, and there's going to be someone who's just got a little bit of a creep vibe who just stays too close to you the whole time you're there, and it's like, that's not, if that's what networking is, I want nothing to do with it, which I actually don't, and neither do you, I can tell. But what I love is the idea of networking where it's literally getting to know the people that you know who are physically, like I think of the IT infrastructure and the idea of like all these little pieces, and you think of all the connections. And that's what I think of when I think of a network. I am, in fairness, an engineering geek, but it's the examples that you just gave. It's points of commonality that you already have. We were waiting for our kids at the bus stop. We went to a same course. I sat beside you at the group lunch and just leaned over and said, hi.
I like your dog.
Yeah. I got to know my neighbor that way. She used to walk by when I was first building a garden, and she's like, oh, I can't wait to see how it looks. And here we are, like 10 years later. She's like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I know I need to like split everything. So we've known each other all those years. I actually don't know what her name is, but I know all the names of her dogs.
Right?
But we have a great conversation every time we get together. And at some point in time, there'll be an opportunity for us to hold space for each other.
And that's really what it's about. So for some people, they'll walk into that big room and they'll love it, right? They'll be like, this is my zone of genius. Like I think of my husband. This is his zone of genius. He will, and that's why he's great to bring to parties, because then I don't actually have to talk to anyone. I can just like hide in the back and he will go and own the room. For me, it's awful. So for me though, it's just about being curious. It's not about me at all. And that's what I hold when I go. So yeah, pitch to me. Sure, go ahead. All I'm going to do is ask you questions, right? And then they'll remember me as that person who listened and showed interest and was kind. I'm not going to pitch you. If you ask me, I'll know what to say and I'll respond. But it's just about being curious. So to give the example of where I said, can I have a job? And you're like, no, I don't know you. I give the example too of like, if I was walking down the street and someone came up to me and said, Jenny, oh, hi, can I borrow your cell phone? I'd be like, no, right? Like, I don't know you. But if they're like, oh my God, are you Jenny? You're Brooke's friend. And I'm like, yeah, I am Brooke's friend. And they said like, oh my God, Brooke told me like about your program and it's so amazing. Hey, I left my phone at home. Do you mind if I borrow your phone? I'd be like, sure. Can I dial anyone for you? Do you need $5 for the thing? Like, what do you need? Like, it's just creating a safe space, which doesn't have to, it's not a pitch, right? So there's an easier way to do it that is genuine.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
and
how I feel about networking. Yeah.
You let go of the emotional armor.
Yeah.
And so you can be vulnerable with the other person in front of you. You can actually like open your heart and say things like, what else can I do to help you? Because I mean, you and I also come from a mindset, and I'm going to use a term rightly or wrongly, but the idea of sort of, I'll say servant leadership, where you come to say, let me help you. What can I do? Or how do I help you? Or do you need help? Or what can I do to support you? And it's this idea of coming from a place of being underneath in order to lift up.
Yeah. And I think in just thinking of our community, it's very interesting because we have, again, this community of women, and we meet every Monday. We get 12 people on the call and we show up, and we have, at the end of it, we have an ask. So if anybody has an ask where they need help, it's like a mastermind group. And I think women struggle with asking more than giving. So it's so funny because I often get like, I don't have an ask, but I have a give. If anyone wants to meet with me and go over their resume, or I just did this business development course on this thing, if anyone wants to meet with me, or like, I just took my kids here, and if anyone wants the road trip and itinerary, they call me. So it is quite funny, the ask versus give. We have a lot of givers, which is beautiful. And I try to get them into asking as well. Like, it's okay to ask, right? Like ask. Yeah,
it is okay to ask, but I think there's some people who frame the ask as a give. And I think of the people who are maybe wanting to practice, right? So I just took this business development course. If you want to talk about it or have any questions, like I'd love to meet with you. But really the hidden ask is, I want to be able to share the knowledge and help myself assimilate it and practice, right? So there's oftentimes there is an ask underneath. It just comes away as a give. And I think that's one of the reasons why I see a lot of women lean into this sort of, I'll say, a business development model of giving away the free item.
Oh, yes.
Right? Because you can give something away. You're not asking for business, you're giving them a resource.
Yeah.
And I think this is sort of the mind shift that fits with that as well.
Yeah. It's so funny. Somebody actually asked me in the community if I thought our community pitched to each other. And I was like, no, I don't think we do. Like, I think we're pretty much a no pitch, not intentionally, just as in because we actually tell people to stop giving stuff away for free.
I'm with you.
Start charging. Yeah.
For all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I think part of the value there that people miss is that ability to recognize that exchange of value. And
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. My local mechanic, my goodness, it got to the point where I was like, please bill me for something. Because every time I would come in and they're like, oh, it only took us a minute, or it took 5, don't worry about it. I was like, no, you don't understand. I need you to stay in business. And so I need you to charge me because you have
Yeah.
to pay your rent, right? This is what value exchange looks
Yes.
like.
Yes.
You help me with my car
Yeah.
on things that I can't do in my driveway.
Yeah.
And in exchange, the thing that I can give you is money so that you can then pay your bills and have all these other things. If there's something else that I can give you, now we're moving into bartering and it's just an
Yeah.
exchange of value. But I was like, honestly, please charge me. Please charge
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it takes the awkwardness out of it as well, because you want to actually get paid and you want to pay them. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a real thing that some people don't really recognize or acknowledge, is this exchange of value goes both way. I think of some people who have literally created, not transactional, but transformational experiences where my life was changed,
Mm.
right? And I think of some of my coaching clients who come back to me and it's like, my whole life has changed and the lives of the people around me has changed for the better because I'm now thinking in a different way and I'm asking different and better questions. And then the flip side of that is there actually is nothing that I can give you to express my thanks. And so that exchange of value and that exchange of payment becomes an expression of gratitude.
Oh yeah.
And when you take that away from someone, that's actually significant, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And gratitude is a huge gift. I have to say, people, like, I'm so grateful when people send me a note. I had a text the other day saying, thank you for fixing my life, which I thought was hilarious. And I just said, actually, you fixed your life, right? But
Yeah.
that means a lot to me, especially as an entrepreneur and business owner, and a day in the life of an entrepreneur is like this. I feel amazing. Oh my God, what am I doing? This is so great. Like, I could be doing this all the time, right? It's up and down, but to have that constant stream of gratitude for me keeps me in alignment with my goal and what I want, which is to have that, I was going to say, to have that impact, but it's not even about the impact. It's about their impact, to see their impact, their personal. So it's not my impact, it's their impact. That is beautiful. It's why I do what I do. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And I love that. The why I do it is as you were saying that, I was thinking of some of our past guests and some of the conversations we've had, which is really leading into your why.
Yeah.
And we started off this conversation with you can't get what you want until you know what you want.
Yeah, 100%.
So I want to circle back to that to hear a little bit more on your thoughts on that piece.
Yeah. So basically, I think we've all been conditioned, as I was saying at the beginning, to believe that to want is wrong or to want is bad. And we grow up with messages from our parents, from our caregivers, from our school, from society, from our workplaces, from our culture, from, the town that we live in, about what we should be, do, and have, right? So we take on other people's ideas and that shapes our own. Which is normal. Everybody does it. Like, there's no getting around it. That's just what we do. So we end up following this pathway. And what I have found mid-career with women, especially after having kids, they're all of a sudden like, is this actually what I want? Right? Is this actually what I want? So I give the analogy of, a lot of women who I work with, they've made the decision to walk out the front door. So they're like, okay, something's got to change. I'm not sure what. I've made the decision to walk out the front door. Where am I going to go from here? And that's the point we start working with them, because we say, where do you want to go? And they say, well, I have the skills and experience to do this, or I could transfer skills into do here, or I've worked in this in the past. I have to be realistic. I need a part-time job. And I said, no. Like, where do you want to go? Right. And they're like, well, I could do, and I'm like, stop it.
Right? You got outside. Now what? Are you going straight? Are you going right? Are you going left? Like, where do you want to go?
Right? So we really work with peeling back some of the layers and those beliefs around what it is that they want. So let's say then we identify the bakery. I really have a sweet tooth, Brooke, and I love cinnamon buns. So I want to go to the bakery. Actually, I really, really want to go to the bakery. But as soon as I even get the words out that I want to go to the bakery, I don't have a car. I can't go to the bakery, right? Can you imagine how much weight I would gain? What would my friends think about me, right? I can't go to the bakery. It's not even worth it. I'm going to go back over here and look and just shut down the idea of the bakery, right? And what we do is say, like, stop it. The how is none of your business at the moment. Don't worry about the how. Let's focus on the bakery. If you were in the bakery, and this is where that community really helps as well, to build out what your goal and idea could look like, right? So I'm thinking, okay, I'm in the bakery. I work at the bakery. I'm baking in the back. That's what I do. I'm baking in the back. And then as I start to discuss with other friends, I realize that actually, if the bakery could look like anything, I actually own the bakery, which is cool. And the bakery's on a farm. That's weird that came up, but actually, no, my bakery's on a farm. And it's just like a pop-up shop on a farm with like all natural, in a collective or in a blah or a blah or a blah, right? But this idea that what started out as like, the only way I can work at a bakery is to drive my car, get to the bakery, and start at the bottom and work from the bottom, right? But then when you can talk and collaborate, it expands what's possible around that. So once we then have the idea of what all these different things about the bakery, then we get really creative in the how. Because there's a million different ways to get that bakery. So first and foremost, can you start taking a baking class, right? Like if you want to bake, like let's start, like you don't have to go buy a bakery, start taking a class, right? Can you start by selling baked goods to some of your friends and family on the weekend? Could you go to a local farmer's market and see if anybody has a pop-up stand that you could maybe shadow them on? Is there like, so we really start expanding about all the ways you could actually do it now, instead of waiting like for until you have a car, or until you have the money, or until the right moment. Or it's like, how can you get some of that and start doing it right now and bringing it closer into reach? Yeah.
It's like the cafe owner that I met yesterday who opened 2 months and 2 weeks ago. If you're in Montreal, go see Cafe Alice. And one of the things that really blew me away is, he's waited until he retired to do this. And so, there's that piece. And then I think of the flip side of one of our previous guests, Marnie, who had put it out there into her network, and her network was her book club. And she had expressed to them that pop-up desire of, oh my gosh, I'd love to own a bookstore. Can you imagine being surrounded by books all day, and literally you make money by reading and sharing this like wealth of book knowledge with people who love books, and you get to have amazing conversations during the day with other people who love books, who are looking for books, thinking about books. And then all of a sudden someone saw an ad on Facebook saying, I'm looking for my successor. This is a multi-generation bookstore. It has to go to the right person. And next thing you know, there's an interview, and it's, yes, it's you. And what's different about what you're sharing and her story is the previous owner, Cheryl, had said to her, leap and the net will appear. And while that's very true when you're surrounded by a strong circle, because they become part of your net and will start adding the pieces that you need, there's another element of that, which is you can take a step at a time on a journey, right? And so it could have been, well, I want to go and hang out. I hang out a lot in bookstores. Maybe I'm having more conversations with the owner around operating costs and operating models and different
100%.
ways to start bringing you money. So you're shifting your focus from being the consumer to being the person who's actually driving the business on the other side of the table.
Which is really the third point, the third piece in the framework, which is becoming. You become the winning self-image, we call it. And it's not until you become the person who has achieved your goals that you can achieve your goals. So it's, even if this is your goal, and you, for whatever reason, sure, you might be able to do it right now, you become her. So what does she do? How does she feel? How does she act? You step into the person who has already achieved your goals and start acting as her now, doing as she does, because when you do as she does, you get the results that she gets, right? So it's all about adopting that ideal self-image to move you faster towards that goal. And your goal, we call it an aiming point. I see Michelle's on here. Michelle will know your aiming point does this, right? Like it's all over the place. And we use the word a lot in the group, which is called prototype, because none of us are failing. We don't fail at anything. Guess what? And we're not taking big leaps. We're testing. We're freaking prototyping everything. So we can prototype trying a bookstore, right? We can prototype baking. We can prototype taking a course. We can prototype by calling people and see if we like the idea. And it creates the safety net and this environment of encouragement, because it doesn't really matter. You don't fail because you prototyped, you learned.
Yeah.
So it's just even in the language you use about how you're going after your goals. So
words matter so much.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I want to bring, because I said before, I love new expressions and way of framing things. And one of them was uncovering the not knowings. I didn't make a mistake. I uncovered something I didn't know or didn't anticipate.
Yeah, that's a great way to put
Isn't that lovely? And so I wanted to also just, we've got just a couple minutes left, but I wanted to talk just a little bit about this, because I think when other people, as part of that judgment, oftentimes people will judge when you're not clear on what you want. And there's so much value, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're in the career discovery phase or whatever the context is, it actually doesn't matter. You are evolving as a person, you're being exposed to new expressions, new ideas, new thinking. And as you start to do that, I find there are other people who are not doing that, who will also judge, well, you don't know what you want. And I think that's also a really important one, that sometimes finding the person who you can use as a sounding board and share those ideas, that will be the people who will flow with you and help you start to narrow down. And then there will other people who will come in to say, well, that's not what you said last week or last month.
Oh my God. Forget that. First of all, when people don't know what they want, it's my favorite time. I get so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're going to play. We're going to have so much fun figuring out what it is. Because again, it comes down to curiosity and prototyping, right? And you will change your mind. So that's a couple things we say a lot in our community, which is give yourself permission to change your mind, right? Like that is, give yourself permission. It's okay to change your mind. We all do it. And especially with different age and stage of your life, of course, things are going to change, right?
As they should.
As they should. And it's okay that you want to change with it. The other thing about what you want and your goal, it doesn't have to be a thing. It doesn't have to be a position. For a lot of us, it's, and for me, my aiming point, my goal is always a feeling. It's a feeling. So my goal is to always be building, which is like, I love being challenged. I love building and creating. This is a space that I feel like my heart is on fire when I'm building. So whether I'm building new products in my business, whether I'm building new relationships, whether I'm building a new presentation for work, whether I'm building a 5-week road trip for my kids across Canada, whether I'm building new things into my marriage, whether I'm learning, like for me, it can be applied across anything because it's a feeling. Like the how is none of my business, right? But
it'll come.
The how will come. But the goal is to always feel like this. Yeah.
And we've got 1 minute left, and I'm going to give you the last thought, but just, those feelings of where I know that both, programs and coaching programs really make such a huge difference is when you feel like you're that stuck in a rut and you're just spinning your wheels and you're not getting traction, or you feel trapped, almost caged, where you're feeling either very small, or you can see opportunity and you can't get there from here.
I love the visualization, and this is how I felt when I started Tellent. Was I was inside a glass. There was a glass over top of me, like a water glass over me, and I could see what everyone else was doing, but I was trapped in the glass, and there was no way for me. My circumstance was the glass, and what I do for women is help them smash that glass so they can go out and do and have what it is that they want. But that's the visual, like,
Yep. Oh, I love that. I love that. I cannot believe time has flown by so quickly. This has been so much fun. I very much look forward to continuing the conversation with you. And I want to thank you for your time today.
Well, thank you very much. And if anyone has any additional questions or want to reach out to network and build a relationship with me, then please feel free to do so.
Amazing. And we'll have all your contact information down below when we repost this. So thank you again, Jenny, for your time today. Thank you for choosing to be here with Best for Women today.
No worries. Thanks, Brooke.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye.